from the International Union of Psychology. Doctor, good to have you with us. Two elements I'd like to discuss. One is the psychology, if we could, of the followers of this particular pastor, and two, we'll get to in a moment, is that of the pastor himself. The followers in this particular story, you can see convinced that this is the way that they want to repent for their sins. From a psychological perspective, how do you view this?
I think you're dealing with a very needy group, serious desperation, people who are looking for some external answer to the dilemmas they're confronting, and searching and continuing to search, and for them this pastor is the message from heaven. I think that there's a serious vulnerability that the pastor is preying on. For instance, I mean, grass, unless he treats them as cattle, human beings are not usually want to do that. And there's nothing in the scriptures which justifies that. So in many respects, he's a false prophet. I don't want to get into the sphere of religion, but he's playing on vulnerability and desperation out there. And I would say his true calling would be shown up if he were not to accept a cent for what he's doing.
It's funny on the religion element, and we won't discuss that. The reason I'm bringing it up, I spoke to a religious studies lecturer earlier from the University of Johannesburg, and he was saying that with regards to there's religion, there's reason, and there's science, generally how the religious academics will look at it. This is beyond reason. He doesn't think this fits into reason at all. Based on what you were saying, this false security that people get, why doesn't logic step into this and have people, followers in this case, go, this isn't right, I'm not happy with what I'm doing?
Well, because of the need. People have a certain dependency, they have a certain vulnerability and sheer desperation that makes them look for this so-called salvation. Because doing the kinds of things that they open themselves to doing will hopefully lead to the better life for them. And that's the kind of quest that people are involved in. There's a certain hypnotic aura to this, so that you can hold forth, and it's fairly easy. If you know the physical science, you can pick up who are the vulnerable people, and you can immediately prey on them. Let's take one example. If you're on a magician show, that magician will look for certain signs, usually that you show in your eyes and your features and your general demeanor, and pick you versus somebody who is going to be more skeptical, who he will ignore. And the pastors here tend to prey on people like that. Organized religion cannot condone this kind of behavior.
And this is now the debate, of course, is, and I raised this with the religious studies academic earlier, the pastor in this case you're suggesting is playing on these fears and these concerns by these people. Do you think that's very well plotted and planned out, and someone in this situation can actually read other people the way that you're suggesting a magician can?
Yeah, yes, look, in times of extreme vulnerability, when things are going chaotically out there, in societies where the center is not holding, the moral compass doesn't seem to be there, you will get this kind of so-called prophet offering a way forward, away from the present day wiles, the terrible consequences that they face on a daily basis. And hopefully through doing these bizarre things where reason is left outside, if they do these things, well, maybe they'll see the better life. So it's a pie in the sky on earth rather than in the hereafter that's offered.
The pastor says, as a comment as well, he refused to speak to journalists. You heard the report, but he did say that he is not accountable or answerable to anybody. What does it say about the psychology of someone who is in that position?
Even the most recognized messengers of God, the Pope, the Dalai Lama, others, do not put themselves in the situation of this man. This is a charlatan, and he needs to be called up as such.
Doctor, thank you very much indeed for coming in today. It's a huge pleasure. Dr. Saths Cooper from the International Union of Psychology. A lot more on the story, I'm sure, over the next few days. If you want more on the interviews, you're welcome to go across to eNCA.com.
Know more about your world. eNCA.com.